Hi, everyone. Welcome to Clutch Entertainment today. And today we're going to be talking about our big offseason here for the NHL teams. We're going to give like an offseason list, and we're going to talk about who's a contender and who's not quite there yet. As some of you know, the NHL draft occurred on about, I think it was June 27th, I believe, or 28th, 26th, something like that. It was on a Friday and a Saturday. And they also had free agency open up on July 1st. So a lot of these teams have already made the major moves that they're going to make for the summer. There's a few teams still holding out with things. But I'm going to go through each team. I'm going to talk about what's going on with each team. And I'm going to talk about where they're at going into the season. If they're an elite Stanley Cup contender, if they're playoff hardened is the second, which is like A tier. If they're a bubble team, like a wild card bubble team, if they're not quite there yet, they're out of the playoff picture. And the last one tier is dumpster fire. That means they're doing terrible. The front office is doing terrible, and they're not getting stuff done. So first off, we'll start off with two teams. We'll start off with Carolina. They are the most recent Stanley Cup champion. I'm going to put them as an elite Stanley Cup contender again because I didn't see them make a whole lot of changes this offseason so far. They had a great run to the Stanley Cup, and they pretty much put themselves in a position to be up there in the elite teams. They ended up taking on the Vegas Golden Knights and won it in 6 games against Vegas, and they really did a good job. They don't really have that big superstar on their team, but they did that great defense, and they had great goaltending, and they really took care of business overall. So I would put them up as an elite Stanley Cup contender. Next, we have Montreal. They had a pretty good playoff run. They actually made it to the conference final. Last time they did that was, I believe, 2021 or so. And they did a really good job. They have the new young talent of some of the players like Lane Hudson, and they have Cole Caulfield. They still have Nick Suzuki, and they got Uri Slavkovsky. They got a lot of young stars coming up, and I think they're going to be a team to watch this next year. I'm going to put them in the playoff hardened picture. They got that experience this year, and they put themselves in a good position where they can do better. Next, I would like to say the Blackhawks. I would just like to say they are a dumpster fire. Let's just straight up say that. They have to still sign Connor Bedard. He's going to be expecting around 20 million, I would guess, 19 or 20 million. But with his injury problems with his shoulder, I really don't think that he is the player that he's going to be. He's got a lot of skill, he's got a lot of upside, but with the shoulder injuries, where he had a shoulder injury last season, and then this season too, he's got a shoulder, like in the off season here, he got injured his same shoulder, I believe. So I don't think he's in a good position. They may have traded for Bo Byram, and they got rid of the 4th round overall pick to Buffalo, but I don't think that was a good deal in my opinion. Byram's a pretty good defenseman, but he's no number 1 defenseman. I'd say he's like a first or second pair. So I would definitely put the Blackhawks in a dumpster fire. Next, we have the Predators. I'm going to put them in not quite there. They're not doing terrible, and they're not doing great. They haven't done super a whole lot. They did acquire like 1 or 2 players this offseason, but they still got the same core. A lot of centers, a lot of older players. Marchessault, Stamkos, O'Reilly, and Forsberg. They got a number of different players. But they do have Roman Josi, which is a really good defenseman. But I would say as far as their offseason goes, they haven't been super great. It's just okay. So next we have Columbus. I would put them in the not quite there section or dumpster fire. So I'll put them in the not quite there just because they have good talent. They have Adam Fantilli. He's still an RFA, I believe. So they could still sign him. But basically, they're in a position where they're kind of figuring things out. Zach Werenski's still staying with the team on defense. So I think that they're getting there. They're not quite there yet. So we'll see where it goes. Next, we have the Anaheim Ducks. Now, in the playoffs last year, they made it to the wasn't the conference semifinal, and they did really good. They took on Edmonton. I would put them as, honestly, this year playoff hardened. They did really well. they got to figure out their cap situation. And actually, you know what? Thinking about it, they might be a wild card bubble team. Reason why I say that is they lost their entire defensive core. They lost Jacob Truba. They lost John Carlson. They traded for, and they lost. Well, Ross Johnston went to the Blues and got traded to the Blues. So I would say they're on the bubble this year. They're going to have really good offensive talent. They re-signed uh, Carlson, Leo Carlson, to that offer sheet that Buffalo offered initially. But overall, like they really got a good chance if they put their um, cards play their cards right. And I really think that they're a really good young team and up and coming. So we'll see how they do. We'll see how they get there. But next, we have the San Jose Sharks. They're a really good up and coming team. They drafted Ivar Stenberg second overall, and I really think that they're really going to be playoff hardened next year. They're not going to be a bubble team. They were on the bubble this year. They didn't make the playoffs, but in my opinion, I think that they're going to be playoff hardened. I think they're going to be in a really good position to spoil some teams, and I'm going to put them up there as playoff hardened. I think they're going to finish probably second or third in the Pacific this year, and they're going to be a really good team to compete, especially with Macklin Celebrini. He's been playing really well as their star, and he's easily, I think, going to get over 100 points this year. Next, we have Buffalo. They lost in the conference final to Carolina, and I really think that they no, they didn't lose to Carolina. They lost to Montreal. And I really think they had a really good season. I would put them back on the wild card bubble because they lost Alex Tuck. So we'll see where they go with that, but I'm going to put them on the bubble. Next, we have the Avalanche, the President's Trophy winners. I'm going to put them as a playoff hardened team. I'm not going to put them as a cup contender this year. They lost Valerie Nikushin, and they signed Jaden Schwartz in the offseason, but I don't really think that's that great of a pickup. But we'll see what happens with them. Next, we have Calgary. They're not quite there, I would say. They're still working on revamping their team in a rebuild. And I see them, in a couple of years, maybe up and coming. Next, we have the New Jersey Devils. They've had off and on seasons recently. I'm going to put them as a bubble team. We'll see if they end up making the playoffs. They still got Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes, the Hughes brothers. So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll go on to Ottawa. So Ottawa, I think, is a really tricky one. I think that they're going to be playoff hardened next year. They had a really good season this year. This offseason, they traded Brady Tkachuk, but they also traded from the Sharks and ended up picking up a player, William Eklund. And I think that's going to help their team overall is that with that winger. They're going to have a really good young talent, and they're going to be with Stützle and I believe Giroux re-signed with them. So they'll have the veteran presence. So I think they're in a really good position that they can do some damage. Next, we have the Blues, my favorite team. I really love the Blues. My opinion, I don't know what to expect. They've made a lot of different changes. We traded Kyrou. We got Ross Johnston. We got Brandon Carlo on defense. We traded Shin and Falk during the season. And we've got Connor McMichael and we got Mason McTavish. So we'll see what happens with the Blues. I really think we didn't make the playoffs this year on the Blues, but I think that we're going to be on the bubble this year. I think that we're probably going to finish fourth or fifth in the Central, and I think we're going to get like maybe eighth overall in the conference, maybe seventh overall. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. Just barely think they're going to make it, but I think they will. Who knows? They could impress and do way better and be in the playoff hardened section, but we'll see where that goes. Next, we have Seattle. I would say they're in the not quite there still. They had one good playoff season where they did well and made the playoffs and made everything interesting. That was in their second season, I believe. But after that, they haven't done the same damage as they did, and they lost a lot of games last year. So they're trying to rebuild. They're trying to get back into where they need to be. Next, we have Detroit. I'm going to put this in the dumpster fire. They have Dylan Larkin. He's still at a trade request. He made a trade request this offseason, and they are in real trouble if they trade him because that's their top center, and top centers are hard to come by in the league. So I would say definitely that they're going to be in trouble if they end up trading him. I believe they're going to be in a rebuild. The Detroit. I don't think they're going to be close to making the playoffs this year. They've lost a lot of talent over the years, and they've been close several years in a row. But I think that they slip off the edge. Patrick Kane's not re-signing with them either. Veteran presence. So we'll see where it goes, but I just don't see them re-signing or remaking the playoffs. Next we have Dallas. Dallas, I'm going to say, is playoff hardened. They lost in the second round, I believe, to Minnesota. No, the first round to Minnesota. But that was too hard. That was a big, hard fought series. Two really good teams. I really think they're a playoff hardened team. They're a team to look for. They're a team to watch. They'll still have a good year this year. They still got to sign Jason Robertson. So we'll see what happens. But I think they're in a really good position. Next, we have the Oilers. Now, here's the thing about the Oilers. They've lost a lot of good players over the years. They were able to get rid of Nurse's contract, which frees up a little cap space for them. And they hired Mike Babcock this offseason, the coach. I don't see them as a really, really good team. I don't see them as a team to watch. I mean, they have Connor McDavid, they have Leon Draisaitl. Besides that, I mean, their team does not have that much depth. They have good players. They have, a few good defensemen, and they got Anderson this offseason, but I don't think Anderson, in my opinion, is that great of an upgrade. I mean, he's decent. He's okay, but I really don't think Edmonton is going to be even near the Stanley Cup. I believe they're going to be a borderline wild card team, maybe a bubble team this year. They made the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. This year they got eliminated in the first round. I see them as a bubble team. I don't see them really dominating the league. I don't see them really going really far with that. So next we have the Tampa Bay Lightning. They always are playoff hardened. There's always a real good contender. They're always a team that you really got to watch. And I see them, doing really well. They have a lot of good players, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, a lot of good contracts there. And I really think that they've had a really good offseason. They've signed a few players, and they really know what they're doing, and they really know where they're going to go. Next, we have the Mammoth. So the Mammoth, they're going to be a playoff hardened team also. They ended up trading for Vinny Trocheck on the New York Rangers, and they also got Anders Lee from the Islanders. That was a veteran presence, and I really think that their method to improving their team has really showed up. Their youth is still there. Still got Clayton Keller, and they still got Nick Schmaltz, and they have I'm missing one player. I forgot his name, but they really got a good team. They got all their players all set and ready to go, and I think they're really going to have a good season this year. Their off season looks really good, and they look really well. Next, we have the Vancouver Canucks. I could rate them in a dumpster fire, but I don't really think they're in a dumpster fire situation. I see them as not quite there. They made some good moves. When they traded Quinn Hughes, they did get a pretty good deal from Quinn Hughes, getting Z Buum, can't say his name, and also getting Marco Rossi from Minnesota. So they got some really good players, and they got some good draft picks. So we'll see where they go. They got the third overall pick, and we'll see exactly what happens when the season gets in the gear. Next, we have Florida. They are the clear Stanley Cup favorite, in my opinion, for next year. They acquired Brady Tkachuk. They got Ratko Gudas and signed him to a 6-year deal. And they're all going to be 100% healthy. Barkov is back. Matthew Tkachuk's going to be healthy. Bennett's going to be healthy. They had a lot of injuries this year, so they didn't make the playoffs, but they're going to be the team to watch. I think that they're going to be within the running for the Stanley Cup this year. Next, we have the Islanders. I'm going to put them on the not quite there also. I think that Matthew Schaefer's a really good defenseman. He's probably one of the top defensemen in the league, but I just don't see them making the playoffs. I don't know why. I just have a bad feeling about them not making the playoffs. They lost their captain Anders Lee, and I don't know if they can recover from that. I just don't see. They have Matt Barzal still, but they're getting older, and I just don't see them, going very far. Next, we have Minnesota. I'm going to say they're in the playoff hardened still, having Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber, and but they still are lacking in the center position. So they need another center. They need a top line center. So if they can get Dylan Larkin from the Red Wings or something like that, that can really put them over the edge and put them close to an elite Stanley Cup contender. But I just don't see it right now. I just don't see them winning the cup. I see them getting close. I just don't see them winning the cup. I see them finishing second or third in the Central. They're going to be in the battle with Dallas and Colorado still. And Utah. So we'll see what happens. Next we have the Kings. I'm going to put them as a bubble team. They made the playoffs on the bubble this year. They may even miss the playoffs this year. I mean, they don't have Anze Kopitar anymore because he retired. So we'll see what happens with that. Next, we have Maple Leafs. So I'm going to say they're really into the wild card at least. I'm going to say they're a bubble team. I would not say they're playoff hardened yet. They've revamped some of their roster, having the number 1 overall pick with Gavin McKenna. So I think he's going to help their team with scoring and similar to Austin Matthews, they're going to be able. Matthews is going to be back healthy, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Leafs could come back and do well after missing the playoffs this year. But they'll be interesting to watch. They'll be a bubble team. Next, we have Winnipeg. I think they're not quite there with the controversy of trading Hellebuck and maybe a few other things. I just don't see them doing very well. I see them finishing probably 12th or 13th in the conference, and we'll see what happens. Their core is getting older with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, so we'll see, and definitely have to keep an eye on that. Next, we have the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm saying they're going to be playoff hardened. They made the Stanley Cup final this last year and lost, but they were a good team. They just came up strong. They got on a big winning streak. They weren't the team that you thought would win the Western Conference this year, but they're still a good team. They're always a contender, so I will put them in the playoff hardened section. Next, we have the Rangers. I would say they're in the dumpster fire. They've lost some of their defensemen. They're trying to, rebuild their team. They're trying to get their team back to where they were, and they're just not the same team as they used to. So we'll see what happens with the Rangers. Next, we have the Flyers. I'm going to say they're a bubble team. They tried to get Leo Carlson, $18 million from the Anaheim Ducks with the offer sheet. They couldn't get it. But I see them big game hunting still and trying to get another center. So I definitely think that they're going to be on the bubble at least. They're going to, because they made the playoffs and beat the Penguins, but we'll see what happens with that. Next, we have the Penguins. I'm going to put them as not quite there. They're a good team, but I just don't see them making the playoffs. They're lacking in some areas, scoring depth and such. They still got Crosby and Malkin, but we'll see what happens with them. The Capitals, I think the Capitals are going to be sneaky good next year. They're going to be a playoff hardened team. They end up acquiring Jordan Kyrou from the Blues, which I think the offensive side of that's going to help Kyrou. I just don't think his defense is that great. But they also got Alex Tuck. He's a really good goal scorer and he's good two-way forward. He's able to take care of a lot of business. And Ovechkin's coming back another year. So with the Protas brothers, with Dylan Strome in there and all their acquisitions they got, I really think with Ovechkin back in the leadership, they're going to have a really good shot at winning the cup maybe. But they're going to be playoff hardened at least. And last we have Boston. I'm going to say they're a bubble team. They have a lot of good players still. And I also think that, Boston's always a team fighting for the playoffs. No matter if they miss it or not, they're always a team fighting for it. So I think we're going to put them on the bubble and we'll see what happens. But this is my tier list today. If you agree with it, let me know. Disagreement with it, let me know. Leave some comments in the comment section below and tell me your favorite team. This was a big, interesting list on who I think had a good offseason and has a good chance to win the Stanley Cup next year. Hopefully it's some fun, exciting season coming up here in September, as we're going to have a 84 game season this year instead of 82. So if you have anything to say, or let me know in the comment section below. If you could like, subscribe, that would be great. So thank you for watching Clutch Entertainment today and have a great day. Thanks.